Hi, I'm Barry Sahajian. This is Essential Bass Theory 5, the circle or the cycle of fifths. I want to point out that circle or cycle means the same thing, and you see it called one way or the other, it means the same thing. Anyhow, in the cycle of fourths, which was Essential Bass Theory 4, and by the way, I'd like to point out, I didn't plan Essential Bass Theory 4 to be the cycle of fourths and Essential Bass Theory 5 to be the cycle of fifths. I just realized it the other day, but I'm glad I did it. It makes sense. Once again, I'm going to suggest that you memorize the sharps instead of using shortcuts. Typically, the circle of fourths and fifths are taught with the big wheel. And I'd like to teach it a different way to begin with. The circle is still very important. But how I'm going to teach this is how the circle appears on the neck of the bass. I think this is much easier to understand initially, and then it'll be easier to relate the circle, which I am going to do. So anyway, the sharps are F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, E sharp, B sharp. Just try to memorize that. Don't overthink it, just memorize that. I might ask you at this time to subscribe so to be updated on all of these, and like and ask me a question on a comment. Anyway, so now we have the sharps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you them on the neck of the bass. We're going to start there, and then we're going to look at the circle and examine it a little more. The example I used in the introduction of the cycle of fourths was a major triad. I used that to illustrate how to go through the cycle using, a pattern. In this video with the cycle of fifths, I'm going to use a minor triad. Before I get started in showing you how the cycle of fifths looks on the fretboard, I'd like to point out a few things that will help avoid confusion as we go through this tutorial and other tutorials on Essential Bass Theory in the cycles. First of all, I know this seems simple, oversimplified, but it really isn't, and you'll see why. You have 7 letter names of notes in the Western music that we have. You have 12 notes completely, and that would include the sharps and flats. You have 7 unique letter names in each key, whether it be major, minor, long as it's based on a major scale. So the thing is about enharmonics is 2 names for 1 note. That's called enharmonics. In other words, an F flat or an E is the same note. And I just had a comment from Bonza who asked that question. He said to me he said he was looking at the flat keys and the flats, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, C flat, F flat. And he said, why F flat instead of E? And why C flat instead of B? Well, here's the problem. If you did change them and you were in the key of C flat, for instance, which is all flats. So now let's take Bonza's question, and we'll be in the key of C flat, and we'll turn the C flat to a B, and we'll turn the F flat into an E. So what's going to happen here is now, if we do that in the key of C flat, now we only have 5 unique letter names in the major scale. This causes confusion. And as you learn more, you'll see why even more clear. But now I'll spell it out for you. Okay, in the key of C flat, all flats. That's simple enough. C flat, D flat, E flat, F flat, G flat, A flat, B flat, and then the octave C flat, repeated. So let's change it. And we'll change the F flat to an E and the C flat to a B. So the first note, C flat, will now be a B. So here's the way it looks so far. B, D flat, E flat, E, G flat, A flat, B flat. You see what I mean? If you looked at that, it would be most confusing. You wouldn't know what to think of it after you learn a little more. So that's the reason of the enharmonics, and that's the reason why you've got to look at these. If you're in the key of C flat, it is a C flat. Don't look at it like a B. It'll be confusing. Oh, don't look at the F flat as an E, because if you keep the F flat in the C flat and you're in the key of C flat, you now have the 7 unique letter names: C flat, D flat, E flat, F flat, G flat, A flat, B flat, and the octave C flat. I am going to progressively go through every key, and you will learn how many sharps, where they happen within the scale. And as you go through all the keys and you start getting into 3 flats, 4 flats, 5 flats, or 4 and 5, 6 and 7 sharps, you will see this much clearer. Okay, now let's take a look at the neck and how the cycle of fifths go across the neck from C to C. And we're going to play it in this position here to accommodate the exercise that I'm going to give you shortly after I finish this. What we're going to do now is we're going to play a major triad on each note of that grid I laid out of the neck diagram from here to here. That will be the 3rd fret from the 15th fret. And you will start on C and end on C with a minor triad, which would be this. Then you go up to the 5th. That was a C minor triad. And you go up to the 5th. Play that again. Then you start all over again from D, which is a whole step up. So you're moving the whole shape up a whole step. And a 5th up from the D to the A. And you continue that until you get up to here. And while you are doing this, to make the exercise a little more useful, is you're realizing that it's a C minor triad, a G minor triad on the 2nd note up, and then a D minor triad, and then A, E, B, F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, E sharp, C. And that way you're reinforcing, once again, learning the neck, as well as getting used to the fifths, moving in fifths, and playing a pattern all in one. So if you're playing this, don't worry if you can only go up 3 or 4 times. Anything you can do, even if you do it, go up C, G, D, A, E, that'll do something for you. Ideally, you'd like to get all the way up to the C. Take your time, and then when you get it all down, try playing it in time and putting a little feel to it. Let's try another. This time we're gonna sort of invert it. We're gonna play the root here, go down to the 3rd here, and then the 5th, and then back to the root minor 3rd. And then we play the G the way you already learned in the last exercise. So it looks like this. C, G, D, A. Same thing all the way up the neck till you play all 12 keys. Once again, don't worry about getting all the way up to the 12 keys. If you can only make it to 3 or 4 times, you're still doing yourself some good. And once again, think about the notes you're playing. Just the root. That'll do for now. The root and then the shape of the minor triad. So C, G, D, A, then put some musicality into it. Make it feel like something so it's enjoyable. That's all for this lesson. Stay tuned. Give me a few days.